Hello, all my JavaScript friends. This is TheVirtuoid, aka Mike Smith, and this is our snake game. Well, it's our game object, and this will be the last video of this particular series until the first of next year, in which case then we'll start implementing all the different input and all of the different UIs. So that will take maybe a couple more months or so. So that's when the fun stuff really begins. And that's when we really start testing out whether our ideas that we had for just plug and playing in all the UIs and the inputs work. So let's take a quick look at the what we have currently on the HTML version. Right now we have only two different options, WASD keys or arrow keys, because of the way I'm used to. I'm going to just select the WASD keys, and we only have HTML. We can't go anywhere. There's nothing else to do there. So that's pretty much it. So we just hit the go button, and we get a little countdown that appears on the screen. We got we got the WASD keys, and there is our banana, and it would help if I actually hit the right keys or not. So we get the banana and we get the apple, and then eventually, you know, we don't want to hit the wall, we don't want to hit ourselves, and we don't want to hit the bombs either that appear upon the screen. And we'll be going over how those get generated a little bit later on. So my record is 30 in length, I believe, if I recall correctly. Can't quite remember. Oh, a bunch of bombs that time came up. But the idea here is that within the game itself, I'm going to show you what it does to be able to grow the snake, how it moves the snake, the timing that it does, that it uses is for the snake. This is going to be an interesting one to do. You know, what it does when it collides with itself, what it does when it collides with the bomb, and what it does when it collides with a wall. And I want to show you how the game, first of all, controls different things, saying, you know, I need you to draw a prize, I need you to draw a bomb, I need you to draw the wall, I need you to draw the pitch, all that kind of fun stuff. And then the events that come back from the UI saying, hey, I've completed doing this, or I've completed doing that, and all the processing that takes place based upon that. So we're up to a length of 21. That's pretty good. Starting to get a little harder, but we'll figure it out. Oh no, I hit the bomb. Oh well, there we go. And of course, when you hit the bomb or hit the wall or hit yourself, you know, it gives you the game over, collide with bomb, and it does a try again or go back. So if you hit try again, it restarts the game, you know, that you see here. Like for instance, now let's hit try again, and I hit try again, it restarts the game, and then I'll just let it hit the wall as soon as it's finished here. Or when it finishes the game, we can hit on go back, and once we click on go back, it goes back to the very beginning itself. So that's what the game looks like. Now let's take a look at some code. Our code. Now the whole idea behind the game object is that it is the absolute controller of everything. So that when we create the game, we just say, give me a game. But the game needs to know what is working with. And there's basically a couple of different pieces of information it's going to need. It's first of all going to need to be able to have a pitch. So what we do here is that we create all of our different classes that we're going to be using in the game: the UI, the pitch, the snake, the input, scores, messages, action buttons, and so on and so forth. And those action buttons, by the way, are the try again and go back that you see, that you saw there. And then within the game there, we're going to need to be able to tell it, you know, this is the pitch you're going to use, this is the UI you're going to use, this is the input you're going to use, this is the snake you're going to use, this is the score you're going to use, these are the messages you're going to use, and here are the different action buttons you're going to use. Now within the action buttons here, I have I'm also letting my snake HTML control what goes on, because the idea here is that once you click on a button, the game really doesn't know what to do at that point. So you are the application, which in this case is the snake-html, is going to try to figure out what the heck I want to do. So on the go back here, I'm just sending it back to index.html. On the on try again, I'm calling a restart method on the game, and that will allow me to do the restart on the game. And that's pretty much it for the game itself, because once we added everything, we just then call start. And that's it. That's the end of the video. Yay. No, that's a lot more, heck of a lot more than that. So again, like I said before, when I did the input and the UI, everything is based upon this particular input and this particular UI telling the game what to do with itself. So the game will sit there and say, okay, I've got to have some sort of input. And the input is going to come back and say, hey, I've got to move the snake this way or that way, or I've paused the game, or I restarted the game, or something like that. And the UI is basically saying, you know, hey, you know, the game will tell the UI, UI, I need you to draw the pitch, draw the snake, draw whatever. The UI will come back and say, hey, I've completed this, I completed that, or so on and so forth. But everything starts with the game start. So let's just go through the game itself. No big here, no big deal here. We just input everything. Here's our constructor. There's really there's nothing that is required for the constructor. And a lot of the stuff is just getter functions here. The real key here is the emit method. What the emit method does is that this is the controller that when the game event does a particular event, whether it's an input event or whatever, it sends it off to the game itself. So if we go to the game event, here are all of our different events that we have defined here, all the different events for game possibility, all the different events for all the different things I think the snake might do, all the different input events that could possibly happen, all the different other game events that could happen, game exit, pause, resume, start, whatever, all the different events that come from the devices, all of the hundreds of different UI events. And I guarantee you, once we start getting to the 2D and 3D and all that, it's going to be more than just this. But the real key here is that we will always call the setup as the game gets started. We always call setup, and this setup passes the game object to the game event, and that is important because the event static method itself. So that basically, let me just go into a let me find a good one that I can use here. What's a good one? Here we go. Every time we do every time we want to send an event out to the game, we always do game event emit, and that basically will then call this emit function here and say, hey, game, I'm emitting something. So if game hasn't been initialized or we don't have a correct game event, then it just throws an error. In actuality, I don't like this. I think I would rather just not do anything if the game event is incorrect. But that's neither here nor there. And at that point, we do a emit. We call the emit method on the game. And then from here, basically, it's just very simple. It's just a one giant else if. Why did I not use switch? I don't know. I just keep changing my mind each time. It used to be that I used to use what we call a jump vector. And this is basically a little database of different bindings for all the different methods. And I would just do jumping from one method to the other. And then I discovered a number of years ago that although that method worked great with languages like assembly and stuff like that, which is where I learned how to do that technique, the way JavaScript engines work nowadays, that pretty much is a moot point. And I discovered, at least with Chrome, that the if-else-if is actually the most efficient way of doing things. So I just went ahead and did it that way. Honestly, do the switch if you feel better with doing the switch. Okay, you're fine. Don't worry about it. I know I'm getting crucified here from people going downvote me now because I'm not using switch, but it doesn't really matter. But the idea here is this: I'm just doing real simple. Hey, if we got a snake collision wall, I need you to do this routine. If I'm doing self, I need you to do this routine. Doing the collision for the prize, I need you to do this routine. And so once I get events that the snake has been collided with, or the game has been over, or I get a particular input, or I've got a particular UI that has occurred, then I'm going to be able to do certain things. And then all the adds just basically applies different or saves the information onto different saves the information to different private variables. So I'm not going to care about all that. I'm not going to go through that one. I'll get to move snake in here in just a minute. Start. There's the good one. So once we start here, we got to make sure that we have inputs, UIs, snakes, and pitches. Without that, nothing's going to work. So the idea here within the start is that we draw the pitch, and here again we're telling the UI, we draw the snake, we draw the score, we draw the text, we draw all the different messages, we set the invisibles, we set everything up completely, and then we tell it to start the countdown. And once we start the countdown, we're going to be listening for these events that are going to occur, where we're going to basically when the countdown itself is the start of the countdown has been complete. Like for instance, we have started the countdown, the UI for the countdown after each tick, and the most important one when the countdown has been complete, and that basically means that the countdown has finished up. And so once the countdown finishes up, I could also do a particular, control F and just do a search, but I didn't do that. As you can tell here, there's really nothing that's going on with the start countdown or the countdown to complete, because I could do something kind of funky with it, if, once each second has rolled away, like change the color or something like that, but I don't do that. The big thing here is that the countdown is complete. I've gotten this event from the UI saying that the countdown has been complete, and I clear out the countdown. I generate myself a prize, and we'll go through that here. Well, let's just go through that here now. We generate a prize. We call a prize random. Now, on the prize routine, let's just go to that prize routine here real quick. There is a static method called random, which gives us the ability to sit here and say, I want you to give me a random prize, just basically a random prize out of the blue, and that will allow me to be able to generate 1 to 3 different prizes that we have. The prizes that we have are, what are the different prizes that we have? Where is it? I don't know. But anyway, we get the 3 different prizes we have are the apple, the snake, and the prize types. There it is. I couldn't quite remember. There it is. Okay, there are 3 examples. It's in prize type, which is where it should be. So this is the 3 different types of prizes that we have. They're different values, and we just when we generate prize, that's how we generate the prize. Then once we do that, we add the prize, because we got to keep the number of prizes there, because prizes, there actually could be multiple prizes. There could be just an apple, a banana, maybe a couple of the prizes a little later on. There are also definitely bombs there too. And then we do the set interval for the snake move, and we do it for a timeout of 200. And this is hard-coded for 200. It shouldn't be that way. In fact, I should be using request animation timeout, and we will be refactoring that next year once we start working with the 2Ds and the 3Ds and all that kind of fun stuff. So as we set the interval, we move the snake and we update the snake. That's it. That's all there is to it. And so when we move the snake, let's go back up to the snake. When we move the snake, we get the projected position, and that's very important. I think I kind of covered all this a little bit when I went through the snake, but we get the projected position. So if the snake is moving one way or the other, we want to figure out where the snake is going to be, where the head is going to be. And at that point, we're going to have to check for a collision to the pitch, a collision of the snake, and a collision of the prizes. We got to check for all of those different collisions, because we want to know whether it has collided with a wall, in which case the game is over immediately. We want to know whether it's collided with itself, and if it is, the game is over immediately. And as you can tell, we do the game events here, and we need to be able to do a prize. We need to be able to do a prize collision. If there has been a prize collision, I send a snake prize collision event. That event goes to snake on snake collision prize. Let's just do a control F and show where that is. And if it's a type of bomb, then we say snake bomb, and we admit the game over, because the game is over if it's a bomb. If it's not a bomb, we clear out that prize, we increment the score, we increment the length, we update the score, remove the prize, and then we generate a whole new prize. We draw the new prize on there. If the new prize is a bomb, we keep generating until we don't get a bomb. And so the idea here is right now is there's a 33% chance for each one of the prizes, an apple, a banana, or a bomb. And if it is a bomb, I don't want to just do the bomb and be done with it, because then there's nothing for the snake to be able to grab. So I keep randomizing until I get either an apple or a banana, or basically anything that is other than a bomb. And this is reason why if you play the game, sometimes nothing will occur, and suddenly you may get 4 bombs appear automatically. And this is the reason why. Is the idea here, I want to be able to tell the system that once to keep going until I get a not bomb prize. And once I get the not bomb prize, then I'm done. And as you can tell here, the whole idea here is we add the prize and then we draw the prize out on the screen. So that's no big deal there. So that was within, what was that within? That was within when we moved the snake. That's where we were. We were on move snake. So we're on move snake. Let's go back to the move snake routine. So here we are at the move snake. We do the prize collection. We do the move and grow, which allows us to move the snake and then grow the snake at the same time. We tell the UI to update the snake. If there is no collision with the prize, then we just move the snake. That's it simple. So if there's a collision, we process the collision. If there is not a collision, we just move the snake, and that's pretty much all there is. So that will continue on doing Let's go to the set interval. Interval, there we go. So we go to the set interval. As you can tell here, every 200 milliseconds, if we're not paused, because we hit the letter P to pause it, then we can just do the move snake and update the snake as we continue on. So what happens when one of the events occurs? It's no big deal. Let's find out. So if one of the events occurs, that's going to be up here on all of these on events. So what I've done here is I've done the regular nomenclature to say, when I get an event, I'm going to do an on whatever, on whatever, on whatever. That's just my way of basically saying, hey, you know, this is specifically for this particular event. So let's just go through those very quickly. Now, again, these are events that are coming either from the input. Well, let me just go back here. These are events that are coming from either a snake collision, a game exit, an input that has occurred, or a UI change that has occurred. And they're very, very simple. There's the start. Oh, I forgot. Also, when we restart, when we click on the restart, there's a try again button. If you remember, we do the restart. That's what all this is right here. This just basically it clears out everything and then, you know, it clears out everything and then restarts the countdown, and we're back on our way. So game initialized true. I need to know when the game has been initialized. That's when we do the setup. This is actually the very first event we ever get. That's right here inside the game event. So when we do the setup here, which we're telling the game event what the game object is, we then send itself basically a initialization. Under on snake collision, we've collided with a wall, we display a message and we say, hey, the game is over. On snake collision self, hey, we display a message and the game is over. When we collect the prize, we've already gone through all of that. We've gone through that one. When the game exit, we admit the game over. When they do the game reset, we do the game over. They're basically the same thing. Eventually, the original idea was I may have these do different things, but I don't know yet. So right now they do the same thing. On the game over, we set the game over thing. We enable the different buttons and we show them up, and then we update the action buttons that basically say, hey, we now have the action buttons that are enabled and they're ready to go. Do whatever you need to do with them with the game over. When we do an on change direction, we tell the snake that we're changing to the new direction. No big deal there. When we do the end game pause, here's the paused. And if you remember correctly, when we did the set interval, right down here, we don't do anything if the game is paused. Well, this is what sets the pause. And if it sets the pause, we enable the try again and go back buttons, because in case you want to be able to say, you know, I don't like this puzzle, let me just restart from the very beginning, we allow you to be able to do that. And when we do the resume here, we set it back to false. We re-disable the buttons and go from there. We've already gone through all that, and then that's pretty much it right there. Clear prizes, prize collision, clear score, clear snake, clear messages. This is basically our helper routines to be able to clear everything out. So as you can tell, the game object itself is the main controller. The idea here is that Snake HTML is going to add all the pitch, add everything into the game, or tell the game what the pitch is, what the UI is, what the input is, and then we hit start. And then from the start button, it does all its kind of funky stuff to draw everything out, and then it starts the countdown. And then once the countdown has started, then the snake starts moving, and it just goes from there. And that's really all there is to the game. Actually, it is relatively simple. It's just the key here is that you have to kind of get on your P's and Q's to make sure that you've gotten everything accounted for, you know, in case for the drawing, and also any events you want to be able to handle accounted for here in the emit. Will this change? Yeah, this isn't set in stone here. I can guarantee you when I get the 2Ds and the 3Ds and all that, there's going to be a lot more events that are going to have to be handled. And so it's, you know, so next year, as we get all of the, start plugging in all the different inputs in the UIs, we're going to be handling a lot of different events. And all of that is going to be handled through this section right here in the game and through the game events here on this side. So that's it for this particular video on the games. The Snake game is available, and you can take a look at it at my GitHub repository, which is free to you. This is all free code. You can take all this code you want. That doesn't matter to me. It's my gift to you. You know, so take the free code. The link is inside the description. And again, this is the last video for the Snake for this year. We will now take a look at implementing everything for the UIs and the inputs next year. And the next video that we're going to have will be our holiday game 2025, which I'm working on here shortly. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next year.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel to view more videos. Click on the like button on this video and visit us at virtuoid.com. Also, support us on Patreon, where you can get access to member-only videos. Links are down below. Again, thank you very much for watching, and keep on coding.